So this way we're double back, and then if I want to use extra
Now
footage,
you haven't got the light on, why? Put the light on when she starts talking, so I want to make sure that there's no trouble seeing people.
okay. But yeah, I figured this way we'd be double backed. This way we're double backed, and that way, like if there's like extra footage or something that doesn't get caught here, I can use it here. So tonight we're double backed.
I'm going Thursday to an event in Elizabeth City.
What time is it?
It's in lunchtime. You're off on Thursday.
Was they changed my schedule again?
Oh, well,
I mean, I could talk to my boss about it.
Lieutenant Governor is going to be there. He's going to be the Republican candidate for governor. So I want to be there, and I'll pay for your gas if you can come.
Okay. What time is it?
It starts at 12.
I'll see
And
what I
I'll
can.
give you the address later on.
Were you able to bring my paycheck? Or did you forget?
No, I brought it.
Oh, okay. Right. And actually, you know what? There is actually a First Citizens Bank like right across the street, so I could go past it now if I wanted to.
Just what you owe. How we doing?
Doing okay, good. Haven't seen you in a long time. Where you been hiding?
You know us on the road.
Here's the guy.
How's these videos coming up, buddy? Were you able to get with anybody?
No. I had to.
I will be back. There's a bank right across the street. I'm going to go across the street.
Even if you're
I had to mail it to right there. He lives right there in the area. An hour and a half down there. We saved you some money.
I trust him and I love him. Okay.
He's the guy that got all the apps and sure it's good.
We're working together. It's good.
So anytime you want to
My wife said I couldn't have the whole thing. I said, well, I got a friend
It's
that's
going to be great. And in fact, all that working together.
not that I know it. Can I tell you?
Attention, please. I do have a microphone in the car. I hope I don't have to use it. So I'm going to yell as loud as I can for now. Let's get started because Parker's closes at 8 o'clock, although they said they'll give us like another 15, 20 minutes beyond, as long as everybody pays their bill by 8 o'clock. So, that's the payoff, that's the trade-off, okay? So let's start. And again, those sign-up sheets are going around. Please make sure you put your name and your email address on it. And if you'd like to help out with committees, that would be wonderful. Pete, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Standing up now, I'll lead you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming out. This is a wonderful crowd. I know you're here for Sloan, and you're wise to be here. All right, so if you can bow your heads and lead us in prayer. Lord Jesus, we humbly take to you in prayer. Thank you for our group. Thank you that good people have woken up to government tyranny and ideological threats that threaten to destroy the country of our founding, the country of Ronald Reagan, the country of Donald Trump. Thank you, Jesus, that they have been loyal to the principles and values that you have inspired our founding fathers to articulate for us and for future generations. You created us all with certain inalienable rights, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Rights that inherently come from our very humanity and not from government. Thank you for the spirit we have to learn, to be informed, and to fight for our community, our state, and our nation. Never let us lose the spirit to fight. Let our spirit to fight be contagious. Keep us healthy and keep us energized to do your good work. Help us to know that what you want for us to do for you. Help us to find the words you want us to speak, and help us to always be kind to one another, even when it's hard to do so. Times are tough and the country's indeed in peril, and we sometimes feel that we are losing the fight. But we know there is hope for the future because you, Jesus, are seated at the right hand of God. Through our faith, we know you won't desert us. You defeated Satan on the cross, and we are now in a fight with the same demons. As the Bible says in Ephesians 6:11, please help us to put on the whole armor of God and stand against and resist the rulers, powers, and spiritual forces of darkness. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against evil intended politicians and do-nothing, ambitious political parties. They continue to disappoint us and ignore the urgency of our country's problems. Our struggle is against the deceit of the devil and against the worldly forces of darkness. We ask that you keep us strong and protect our faith in you. We want to do your good work. Bless our meeting tonight. Bless our fine members. Bless our speaker and her message. Bless the food we eat to keep us nourished. And please continue to bless our country. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
All right. For those who, are there any new people here tonight? New to the Tea Party? Okay. We've recently changed our name from Eastern North Carolina Tea Party to Concerned Citizens of Eastern North Carolina. And we decided to change it back to Eastern North Carolina Tea Tea Party. And let me just give you a quick reason why we have gone back to the Tea Party days. Right? The event that led to the birth of the Tea Party movement occurred on February 19th, 2009, when CNBC commentator Rick Santelli referenced the Boston Tea Party in his rant against Obama's mortgage relief plan, his infamous bailout plan. Speaking from the floor of Chicago's Mercantile Exchange, Santelli stated that the bailout would subsidize losers' mortgage statements, mortgage payments, right? That's his words. He questioned whether the government has the authority to bail people out. He then proposed a Tea Party type response to the government's overreach. And he encouraged all people that are opposed to the enlargement of government to hold in their towns and cities a Tea Party rally, a tax day rally on April 15th. And that ran by Santelli gave rise to the entire Tea Party movement. So we have been up and running since that year, since 2009. And we hope to continue to always stand for Tea Party principles. And what are those principles? Limited government, limited by the Constitution, fiscal responsibility, personal responsibility, free markets, states' rights, power to effectively check the abuse of the federal government. That's the 10th Amendment. Originalism, the readoption of our founding principles and values. Individual liberty, the freedom to exercise our God-given and our amendment rights. Who agrees with these?
Yeah.
If you do, clap. And that's why the name will always be Eastern North Carolina Tea Party, okay? I don't care if people call a fringe group, be proud, be proud, okay? It's your country, and you're saving. We're doing what we can to save it. Next month's Tea Party meeting will be on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2 weeks from today, here at Parker's. I'll be giving a presentation on how the coronavirus affects humans, how the immune system is activated, and how the various COVID vaccines work. On December 7th, we will be having an expert on the Second Amendment come speak to us. Dexter Liu, I handed out newsletters, Second Amendment newsletters. He puts those out. So he'll be here in December. Looking forward to that too. The Republican women will be meeting on Thursday, this Thursday, the 21st, at 11:30 at the Greenville Country Club, which is off of Memorial Boulevard. If you plan to attend, I heard this will be a very good speaker. Was with the Trump campaign, I think.
Hogan Gidley.
I'm sorry, the name?
Hogan Gidley.
Hogan Gidley?
Deputy Press Secretary.
Okay. So he will be the speaker with the Republican women this Thursday. If you plan to attend, please RSV to Cooper Falls. Or maybe Moody or Beth. Or Beth, right? Okay. Lunch is $18, so especially if you want to, have lunch, you have to respond in enough time so they get the food. Good food, the best, the best. There will be a GOP Christmas party on Friday, December 10th at the Winterville Train Depot on Worthington Street. The event is free, but they would like you to bring a dish to share with others or a dessert. And they ask that you RSVP with Brenda or anybody at the GOP office, which is on Arlington Street Boulevard. All right. Paul Rice, as I said before, is running for Winterville Town Council. He's handing out information. He's asking for your support. Please support him any way you can. Help him. Vote for him. He's one of us. He's one of us. And more of us need to run. So that's the only way we're going to change things, is to change the mindset of those that go. And clear the indication of that, and why we need this, is the county commissioner meeting last night, where, where everyone, it was, well, I've never seen so many people at a meeting. And they were there to voice their opposition to the ordinance change. It's a law enforcement ordinance that says you can, if you are permitted concealed carry holder, you can carry your firearm on, into county buildings. But they want to take that right away from permitted and concealed carry holders. And everybody spoke outraged that they would even consider it, everybody. And they voted to make that change. They put them, in other words, they're public officials, they're assigned to protect us, work for us. They voted in their best interest. They put themselves before their constituents. It was beyond questionable. Okay, that's all I have to say, I think. Yeah, I have a recap of the comments that were made at the commissioner meeting if you want to read them. Pass around, if you want to email me, I can even send you a recap. So with that, I'm going to ask Elizabeth to introduce our speaker.
I just want to throw another thing about the Board of Education real quick. Again, our voices were hushed because they sent out a survey in July for all the parents about the mask mandate, and there were 3 questions: a mandatory, optional, or get this one, segregating the vax students from unvaxxed students. How would they do that? But anyway, so they got 38% participation in the survey. When I told them at the board, I said, you know, you've got nearly 40%. That's pretty good for any kind of an organization. Of that 38%, 60% of the parents said optional masks. And you know that those 60% of that small group, they knew what they were doing. They understood. They did their homework. They were willing to let their kids go to school without a mask. They dissed that and made it mandatory. So again, we lost our voice. Just like we lose it with Cooper with voter ID, twice. So that's why we're all here in this room. And that's why Sloan is here. Sloan, I can't even begin. I have a short time and I just stole some of your time with my little rant. But Sloan is president of Education First Alliance. But also, I didn't realize this, I had to Google you. Yeah, no, you're the executive director of Pen and Shield, which is focused on government corruption, K-12 education, and religious bias in North Carolina. So she's going to cover a lot of good stuff tonight. We're very pleased to have her. So Sloan, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for having me. I've seen some of you guys before. This is going to be not a repeat. I've got all new material now. All right. Thanks again for inviting me and making this happen. And John, you've seen me a couple times. You must be getting sick of me. Oh, sorry.
No, you're okay.
Oh, wait. Am I supposed to be speaking now?
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
Bob, he traveled.
Oh, me too.
What happened?
Yeah.
Bob, real quick.
All right.
Okay.
That's a warm up.
Can you? Okay, so I'm opening for Bob. Okay. All right. Yeah. We love you, Sloan.
Well, it always worked this out that I would speak before Sloan because I heard you in New Bern. It went on for a while,
Oh.
about 2 hours. Anyway, I'm Bob Kavanaugh. I'm the county commissioner from Carteret. In my second term, I'm also the Tea Party chairman down there. We've been active since 2009. And we meet every week, not every month. So we've got an ongoing group down there. Matter of fact, we got two groups down there. We've got the east part of the county, west part of the county. Now, the reason why I'm here tonight is I'm trying to organize an event that's going to involve all the Tea Parties of North Carolina, as well as all of the GOP organizations in all 100 counties. And all of this is aiming toward having a large rally or protest or demonstration, whatever you want to put on it, in Raleigh. Should have it in Raleigh about this time next year, just before the election. And right now we're looking towards maybe the Raleigh State Fair grounds or the theater there. A lot of details being worked out. Before I really start committing money to this thing, we're trying to raise money to make sure we have enough to pay for everything. Because there's going to be insurance, and depending on the venue, we need to get portage on and rent-a-cops and sounds, all that to be worked out. But first, we've got to firm up the money. I got two revenue streams coming in. The first one is I'm asking for a commitment from each of the 100 county GOP organizations to contribute $200 towards this effort. I pitched this to the 3rd District meeting Saturday before last. It was enthusiastically received. 4 counties right on the spots that we're in. Carteret, as a matter of fact, they donated $500, plus the Women's Club took a bag of my pins, which I'll get to in a minute, and they're going to sell them and raise another $500. So the first revenue stream is to get money through the GOP. If all 100 counties contribute, that'll give us $20,000, which I think would be enough to maybe pull this event off, maybe not. We may have to pay for some speakers to come in. Speaker we want, we're going to get Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson to speak. Want to get all of the Supreme Court candidates there. We want to get whoever the winner of the Senate primary is, whether it's Bud or Walker. And I'm also would really like to get Sheriff Bob Clark in Milwaukee there. Now I'll listen to Bob Clark and Mark Robinson at the Reagan Day dinner in Havelock back on August 28th. Two very inspiring speakers, and a comment made by Bob Clark just really resonated with me, and he said it was time. David Clark. Why don't I call him Bob Clark? Because there's a Bob Clark pharmacy. Anyway, David. My apologies. What he said was it's time for conservatives, patriots, to take it to the street. We've got to fight fire with fire. So I'm not saying get out there and loot and pillage and burn stuff down. But you got to get out there and get yourself noticed, and you can't do it in small numbers. You can't get out there, 6 of you or 24 of you, and protest and hold signs up because nobody's going to see you. They're not even going to talk about you. You got to do it in a large manner to really get some notice. So thinking down those lines, that about a week or so I came up with, well, why not have a big darn rally in Raleigh? And so that's the genesis of the idea. Now the second revenue stream is selling pins or ribbons. You see I'm wearing a black ribbon with a flag lapel pin on it. The black ribbon represents grief and mourning. And each pin comes with a little card, and each card has 3 talking points on it. What the pin is all about. Now, the first talking point, and the reason for the black ribbon itself, is for mourning and grief for the Americans lost during the bungled Afghanistan withdrawal, and for all the Americans that were left behind. If you stop and think, when this whole thing started, they were estimating anywhere from 10 to 45,000 Americans were in Afghanistan. And then Biden said, oh, we got 5,500 out, and everybody's, yeah. Well, what happened to the other 5 to 40,000 Americans that were allegedly there? You hear nothing about it. The second talking point on here is we're not gonna allow the media to sweep this thing under the carpet and out of the voters' mind. When's the last time anybody talked about Benghazi? It's another atrocity. So, the purpose behind the ribbon is to wear the ribbon. If enough people wear it, it'll start a buzz. People understand. The third point is we can't protest in the streets every day like the liberals do. Because we work, we've got responsibilities, we're civil, but since we can't protest in the streets every day, we can wear the ribbon every day. So I've been wearing mine for 3 weeks now. Every article of clothing, I just change my ribbon over. My wife's got her ribbon on. Now, the second revenue stream is selling these ribbons. We sell them for $5 a piece, and I would like the tea parties around the state to get organized and get behind this effort and start pushing these things and start raising the money to pull this thing off.
We'll help out, and I know I'm interested in the rest. But,
What is it again? Say the date again?
Excuse me?
What is the date again?
We haven't set a date yet. We gotta set the money first.
Yeah.
You want me to keep those and sell?
Oh, wow.
You ready?
There are 99 here.
There's nobody else.
Selling for $5 a piece, and,
I know.
this is my point of contact.
Let's welcome Sloan. Give her a hand. Let's get on with it again. Come on, Sloan.
Okay, is there anyone else? All right. Okay, actually, let's shut it off. All right, so, thanks again for having me. Again. And so I want to talk about education issues. So before I do that, I want to just kind of share with you a little bit about our group. So we're Education First Alliance. We started in North Carolina. We have 27 states right now. And so I've got a little bit of bona fides when I speak about how we in North Carolina in relationship to the rest of the country. We started on January 6th. We had a founding team of 4, and now we've got 16 officers. We've got around 30,000 activists connected around North Carolina, and then I would say around 80,000 connected all across the country. So what we do is we do grassroots, but we do investigative journalism because we're all grassroots here, and we know that when we're doing something or uncovering something, it's hard to get the message out, right? You've got the facts. Where do you go? The great news about us is that we're able to actually take that and produce pieces. So my background is I was and I still am a writer for the Federalist, Daily Wire, National Pulse, another one, Law Enforcement Today. So investigative journalism is my thing. And obviously I'm a parent. I mean, I think, lots of parents in here, but I have a different background as well. So I came to this fight, really, when critical race theory came to my Jewish day school in Durham, North Carolina, 5 years ago. And when they started taking maps of Israel off the wall and talking about privilege, Jewish privilege and white supremacy and all that, by other Jews, I said, you know what, like what you have going, but I'm out of here. My husband's Israeli and I don't, it's not for me. They sued me, tried to cancel me, boycotted my business. And we know this now as cancellation, right? So I've lived it, I've done it. But I'm also from North Carolina. My background is I was in the foster care system in North Carolina. And so some of the things I'm talking to you about, I know what I'm talking about. In other words, I think as conservatives, we've always talked about school choice, right? That's been our one-note sonata with respect to education for a long time. Abandoning the public school system and doing school choice would not have helped people like me. It would not help people that have parents that do not have any other way out. It will not help our fellow man. And so that's why I'm very passionate about not allowing our children to be abused at the hands of our own government. We're Americans, we don't allow that to happen. That's exactly what's going on in the schools, I believe. And I want to show you the reason why I believe it and some proof behind it. So that's kind of, the background. The reason I think conservatives have not wanted to go into public school reform, it's the culture war, it's trench warfare, it's a dirty business. And we're here because of that, right? We know now that when you're opening up that can of worms, I mean, you're getting everything. I mean, you're getting the LGBTQ issue, right? You're getting the African American issue. I mean, every single thing that they can actually launch at you, you're going to have it there. And we know that minorities are being victimized, actually. So it's just a ruse. It's just a cover to make sure that people that are stuck in that system, be it foster kids, be it low income, be it whoever, this whole thing with the critical race theory and social emotional learning, etc., it is a fig leaf to cover up the fact that they are not teaching children, period. Now, who is they? I mean, of course, it's not all of anyone, right? But whatever system that we have to look at that, right? So when people say systemic something, it's definitely systemic something, right? But when you've got a lot of the money in the state, I mean, I think it's like 54% of the state budget goes to education. A lot of that goes to things that never make its way to the classroom, period. So there's a lot of grift coming off of that. And that is why, for us, we've been really the only conservative group that's opened the hood of the education system at the state level to see what's underneath there, and we have been besieged by lots of snakes jumping out of said engine, right? People don't want you to look where there's money and there's waste, okay? And I believe there is. So, but I want to talk to you about what you want me to talk about. I'm here for two reasons. Obviously, I want to educate you, but I'm here for another reason that's selfish for me. We want our group, I want us to be your trusted resource for all things education. Not all things, of course, on the local level, but at the state and the federal level. And so I hope that I earn your trust. But the way to do that is to talk about what you want to know about, and I can talk about any of that. I've got evidence with me, slides with me, anything so I can make the very complex or the controversial hopefully understandable. Yes?
On the way over here tonight, I was hearing about the father in Virginia who was at a school board meeting about this critical race theory. And he was arrested. Is this going on? I mean, what's happening with our school boards?
Yes.
here in North
Yeah.
Carolina?
100%. So I really, yes.
His arrest was actually
It was a cover-up.
being assaulted, and they
Okay.
jumped from one rabbit hole to the other to try
Right.
to convert.
So we're going to talk about, so I'm going to group that under the, let's see, the covering of crimes in schools. And there's a lot of that going on. So let me just say this. I mean, my position is unique. We're also talking about the transgender issues agenda in schools. That is a very, very big deal. And I can tell you, I have a lot of gay friends and gay male friends. They are mortified at this. They are absolutely floored at the gay pornography that is in our libraries. What Mark Robinson showed is what we found. So we, by process of combing through this, etc., we found this, we presented it to Lieutenant Governor, and his extreme credit, he is the only one with the courage to put it out there. And he's speaking about that. But I want you all to know in here that when you speak about it, you're on very firm footing. Here's why. Gay men feel like they are being used and they are highly embarrassed. So this is, again, another minority that's being used. And by the way, I'm Jewish, so it happens to me as well, right? When people are speaking about, oh yeah, this is Nazi Hitler, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh gosh, please. Right? Okay, so that is happening with gay men. And my instructions to them is like, look, I'm not your messenger. Unless and until everyday people are willing to speak out against that kind of stuff, then people are going to think what they will. And so when you're speaking about this issue, and we're going to go one by one with this, we're speaking about two things. We know that in the news, there's Mark Robinson and there's gay pornography, very graphic stuff, that now is in 8 different districts. Okay? If it had been heterosexual pornography, we'd be having the same conversation. What I'm telling you is, do not let the fact that the LGBTQ crowd is coming out, the Rainbow Brigade, I call them, and hammering you over the head with it. 2 reasons. Number 1, gay people do not like it. They know they're being used, they're mortified. Number 2, people have had enough of it. I don't know if you've heard about Dave Chappelle or know who he is. Okay, so the thesis of this comedian's 1.5 hour show was stop pushing down on my people. His message to the LGBTQ mafia who likes to cancel people, likes to silence people, and this is no condemnation on that group, is stop pushing down on other minorities when they say things that maybe not be very offensive. In other words, culturally, this culture war is shifting in our favor. Leverage it, right? Just because you are not black does not mean that you cannot speak out against certain issues. And a lot of us have been very afraid, right? Like, I don't want to talk about critical race theory because people might think. We're past that now. We're way past that now, right? And you have to know, I mean, in our coalition, there are a lot of people of color who want us to have this conversation. It's the same thing with the pornography. Secondly, the issue of gender fluid boys and girls using different bathrooms. This is how we got our start. I got my start early December when Wake County Public Schools, it was one of the first school systems in the country that came out and said, guess what? We're going to let boys go into the bathrooms and we're going to let them play on the sports team. About, I guess, a month after that, Catherine Truitt, who's our state superintendent, came out and made the announcement that now in Power School, so that's a, I don't know who the vendor may actually be Power School, but that a student can change their name in the system, right, without parental notification. So those are the 2 things, and I immediately started speaking out because I've got a very big mouth and I do not care what people think of me, which is wonderful for this line of work. I started speaking out, and I will tell you, the first people that gravitated towards me were young black males, many of them. Do you know why? Because they have been concerned about the feminization of black males for a very long time. So this fit right into that. In fact, does anyone know, ever seen Love and Hip Hop?
Yes.
Remy Ma, Fat Joe. Okay, so Remy Ma's brother and mother are friends of mine. And they are in the, very prominent hip hop community. So some of the issues that we have, we think, okay, it's just us. It's just Tea Party people. It is not. Okay? Just like Trump brought this to bear, right? It is we the people. So these are the certain things. And I bring this up because the American system of government works. And it will only work when people, we the people, you can rule it, hate tyranny. Not we don't prefer it, we don't like it. We're past that. You hate it. So we do not allow any group or any issue to tyrannize us, period. Again, maybe 2 years ago, we would be fine if we didn't like it. We don't like tyranny. You have to hate it.
How do you get to the parents?
I'm going to make a different argument. To the parents are gotten to. And in fact, to your point, the parents, and I see where you're going with this. In Virginia, we know in 2 weeks there is an election. It's said to be a bellwether election. And I believe that's true. But for the first time that I'm aware of, an election, they say, will hinge on the parent movement. That's pretty incredible, right? Which is motivating you to ask, why should we getting to the parents?
No, not why, but how.
How? Well,
You know, there are parents that need to
No.
understand,
No.
how do you get to them?
I disagree. I'll tell you why I disagree. Because people who want to come to this movement, their parents don't know. We need to get to everybody else. We are couching this issue incorrectly in my summation. Here's why. Because if you don't have kids, I mean, we are different. We're cut out of a different cloth. If you don't have kids, I mean, you're like, I'm glad I'm not a parent.
I've got kids.
Right.
Let me
Yes.
just say something. I have 2 granddaughters who are in school
Right.
in Greenville. My daughter-in-law started to put them in public school when the little one was ready.
Right.
She went 3 days, and my daughter-in-law went to take her to lunch. The next day, she was out of that school and into a private school.
Okay, so
So the parents do have a say, the parents do
Right.
have the power, but we have to get to them and give them the facts.
I'm gonna present a point of view, and then I wanna talk about it later, with you after I'm done. But here's the thing, with the parent movement, it will come, right? It will come. The last thing we wanna do is force something like that. Here's what the Chicago Teachers Union has done for years, and why this is very effective. What's being done inside of the schools needs to be communicated to the broader community as a human rights issue, and it actually is. I want the issue, and we have them here, where you could take a 55-year-old male who never liked kids, never had kids, doesn't want them, and you can tell them something or show them something, and they're off the couch and they want to go and be a foot soldier in our movement, right? It's about saving the country. It's not about saving people that have children right now in school. It's not. They will find this. That will come along. Don't worry. There's a lot of things going on where that will happen. And so we've got the issues. We've got the moral high ground. We've got the evidence. What I see most people struggling with, whether it's parent groups, we've talked a lot about this, Wendy, over a long period of time, whoever it may be, is 2 things. Number 1, not having the evidence. Okay? I mean, that happens all the time. But number two, not having the appropriate target. What if I told you that most of the problems that are happening in school is happening at the state level and the federal level? And that you could go to your school board, we could elect a completely conservative school board and still be seeing the same problems. What if I told you that? Would you believe me? Would not? Good, I'm glad. Now I want somebody to.
I'll tell you why. Because I think that it is a state and local, federal level in terms of like a grand policy. But you got the colleges teaching this critical race theory. You got individual teachers in the classroom where it's really one-to-one osmosis happening. That's why I think it's an interesting problem as well.
Well, I'm not saying it's an either or, but I am telling you.
Majority
It's,
state journal?
yeah, it's a majority state issue, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it to you. Because even if we were to say, I'm going to have you, let's say tomorrow, I'm going to have you fired if you teach any critical race theory, right? Or you teach transgenderism, okay? It would never work because the state mandates it. How many classes do you think, we have 12 academic subjects. How many subjects of those 12 do you think the state of North Carolina mandates social emotional learning, surveys, and critical race theory? How many of the 12?
All of them.
All 12. When did it happen? When we were out campaigning, June 2020. Without people, a couple of people on the state school board even knowing that it happened. Okay, so that's kind of my intro. We have a lot to talk about. Panorama surveys, okay, things of that nature. So I'm going to explain to you, when we talk about critical race theory, I'm just going to borrow this for a second. So let's just say critical race theory is the stuff in this book. It's not, but Okay, this cannot hurt me. It cannot hurt a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old. It can't, right? I may not like this little book of critical race theory, and I may think it's age inappropriate and harmful, but it will not hurt me according to the law, right? And action is different. If you're gonna take this and act upon it, if you're gonna take this and develop a system, which we have in North Carolina now, if you're gonna take that system and act upon it, now we've got a case, right? And so I hear this all the time. We gotta sue over this, we gotta sue over this. It's a very difficult thing to formulate a lawsuit that doesn't make you look like an idiot, okay? We think we have one right here in Pitt County, and a very good one as well. And I'll tell you what that looks like, right? So when we talk about critical race theory, it's this ethereal concept, this material, right? I'm going to tell you what actions are. I'm going to show you what it is. Do you think we can move, if we move that back, do you think it'll be smaller?
Gotta go forward.
Right.
Forward.
Oh, move it forward. Okay.
Forward.
Ivy League education.
You need some help, or you got it?
So we've got a lot to talk about. So when we're talking about the Pitt County situation, we've got a school, at least one school, and we've got a couple in the state, anybody ever heard of Panorama Survey?
Yes.
Panorama Survey got its start in part in North Carolina in 2012. So it was piloted here in North Carolina. Let's go to 2016. And when the state tried to put in Panorama at the state level, just to survey children on how their teachers were doing, we had every left-wing superintendent say, hey, we don't want any surveys. That is not fair to children. It's not fair to ask children what they think of their teachers in a survey form.
I can go back and I can edit that.
The loudest voice for that happens to be a guy named Dr. Robert Taylor, who is now Captain Truett's second in command. And yet, oh, yeah, I will. So Panorama Surveys, I mean, the co-founder is married to the DOJ's daughter. So we wonder why statements came out, right, about, hey, you guys are a bunch of terrorists going to your school board meetings. What were we complaining about in North Carolina, which is their biggest contract, is North Carolina, the state and different districts. Did you know that?
Say that again.
North Carolina is the biggest contractor of Panorama in the districts and the state. The state alone has a $3 billion contract with Panorama.
Mark Zuckerberg is one of the big creators of Facebook.
Well, Zuckerberg is a funder. Yeah. And so anytime you think about Zuckerberg, you think of data, right? If you think these people are doing it out of the goodness of their heart, you're wrong. And in fact, they just got a $67 million series, I think it's a Series B round of funding. That means Series B means they're not even fully launched yet. $67 million from general partners. And so that was a day before the DOJ makes this announcement. Got it? All right. All right. And so,
I'm ready.
oh, okay. All right, so now I need my clicker. All right.
Sorry. We were trying to get your best image over there, so.
Oh, okay, there it is. All right. Wait, this, yeah. Oh, yay. All right, so let's get to the brass tacks. And I'm going to read this for you. If you're like me, you're gonna have a hard time seeing this. And so we've got a lot of, the reason why I'm jumping all over the place is because we have a fire hose, right, of stuff coming at us. We have the surveys, we've got critical race theory, right? We've got transgenderism. So allowing, to your point, allowing boys to go in the girls' bathroom, we've made the case for a long time that that's a bad idea. The way I like to make the case is this. I like to go through and look at the stats of violent crimes that have happened to girls in that particular district year over year. In Wake County, there was a 244% increase of sexual assault the year before they changed that policy. Numbers talk, that's what I mean, having those kind of stats to back you up, right? Understanding what you're up against. And so making that case is very, very important.
It's not on.
How many of you guys think that this critical race theory and all
Now
this
it's
stuff,
on.
how many of you think
What
that,
is it?
okay, I'll
What is
explain
it?
that.
Because you've been talking about it, but I don't know
Okay.
what it is.
So how many of you guys think that the surveys, well, now you know now, the critical race theory and the SEL started as a result of the pandemic?
No.
I mean, right, so we're, yeah, I'm gonna show you the timeline. Actually, can you go back to the first slide here? Actually, okay. Can you go this way? And, nope, okay. Nope, go this way. All right, nope, yeah. So this started, this meaning critical race theory. In other words, a foundation of teaching that is weaponizing 400-year-old history to stereotype, to scapegoat, and collectively punish a group, right? That started for the very first time in schools or operationalized as a school pedagogy. No, believe it or not, it started in Chapel Hill in 1999. Yeah, so in other words, it took these radical theories and put it into a pedagogy. And how do I know that? Well, the same people. Pedagogy is a teaching system. That means if I'm going to take Legos and put together a scaffolding of how I want the information to flow, that would be that. And I'm going to go, let's go to that timeline again, if you can. If you look at the slides, you'll see it, yeah. Okay, right there, yeah. So that began in Chapel Hill, and it was actually tested on children.
What began?
Critical race theory began, I guess, if we're gonna say that. And when we leave this room, I would like for no one to use the term critical race theory. You know why? It yields, because it yields a response just like what you said. So we're gonna use these three words: stereotyping, scapegoating, collective punishment.
So maybe give an example.
I will, don't worry, stay with me, I got you. All right, we'll get there. So, but under that, do children learn? No, the reading scores keep going down, right? All right, so here's what happened. In 2017, right, the superintendent came out with a report in good faith, right? What can we do to improve the mental health of our students? There have been school shootings, totally pertinent, right? And so there are a lot of great recommendations that came for that. The recommendation, though, that was accepted was, wow, we have to teach children about mental health issues, right? Because everything I'm telling you is coming in through social emotional learning. That's why I want you to wipe clean critical race theory. Let's not even talk about that. I'm going to show you what it is. All right. So then in 2019, September, we the state applies for a $1.7 million grant. It's not that much, right, from the feds, to run psychiatric clinics in Beaufort County, okay, Cleveland County, and Rockingham, right? that will take social emotional learning and something called culturally responsive teaching, in other words, critical race theory, and put it into every class, okay? So, we agree to this. Who's we? People on the school board and the legislators, because that's ultimately who's in charge of the school system, right? Okay? So, November 2019, the State Board of Ed reveals its strategic plan. Critical race theory is in it in 2019 at the state level. Okay, so when the state level, state school board, who is largely appointed, when they say our strategic plan is teaching critical race theory, they hire the teachers, they do the training, they do the certifying, they come up with a test, right? And they very rarely inform school boards on the local level, all right? June 2020, our entire public education system changed in June 2020, irreversibly, period. I'm gonna tell you how many changes and what it means. So this is what happened. So, critical race theory is here. That means stereotyping, scapegoating, collectively punishing, teaching about white privilege. In other words, hey, let me tell you how it rolls out. Hey, we're looking at our scores, and the difference between black achievement and white achievement is widening. That was widening because of Common Core. So to fix that, here comes another Bill Gates program. Another one. Okay? Now again, we're not going to do anything about the achievement gap. We're not going to do anything about that. We're gonna blame white people, okay? We're gonna teach a lot about mental health, but yeah, for literacy rates, we're not gonna bother with that, okay? 2020, let me tell you what happens. The State Board of Ed comes up with the Equity in Education Resolution. It mandates critical race theory, period. It establishes a position for a chief equity officer that's also in charge of health care of the students in that role, okay? This equity in education, what happened about a month before that, guys, is the State Board of Education received about $1.3 million from an organization called the Oak Foundation. Foreign funding, and then this comes down the pipe, okay? And we're investigating what happened to that, all right? June 2020, guess what happens? In all 12 subjects, a requirement that social emotional learning is in every single class. I hope you ask me, what is social emotional learning?
What is
It's
it?
as if I planted you. I'm so glad you asked. I have so many examples, okay? Okay? All 12 subjects. Critical race theory, all 12 subjects, right there. Okay, this is before the social studies standards, by the way. June 2020, the legislature passes a mental health bill. You need to know about this. This is a very, very big deal. It mandates that teachers are going to have to screen for mental illness, diagnose mental illness, and treat mental illness in the school.
Teachers?
Yes. Yes. Okay? This is the reason for the screenings. This is the reason for the screenings. These folks over here can tell you that it's a straight up mental health exam that these parents are not even told their children will be given. And we have at least one family. The father says, hey, to the principal, I would prefer my child not to do this. I'm opting out. Principal says, no problem, cool, we'll do that. The next day, the principal forces the child to take the survey anyway. These are the feds. These are the feds collecting data on you through your child. In other words, how many hours a day are you alone? Are you taking care of anyone during the day? What are you doing during the day? And oh, by the way, which of these 17 genders do you claim? When was the first time you ever had sex? How many times have you had sex? When was the last time you did heroin? For middle school.
Is it middle school?
Yes. Okay. I will show you these surveys, okay? But the point of social emotional learning is data collection, okay? And I believe covering it up by saying, but we're woke. Now, how do I know this? I mean, I can't just pull this out of a hat. Well, anybody ever heard of the Southern Poverty Law Center?
Yes.
Can't stand them. They did something that I liked, which really bugs me. They are suing the Palm Beach School District right now because this mental health policy has been going for 4 years. They're using it in Palm Beach County, very leftist, by the way. They're using it for a discipline policy. So instead of punishing children, young children, they're Baker acting them. In other words, they're saying, they, the teacher, the principal, whoever, saying, you know what, this child needs to be evaluated, and then carting them off in the back of a police car. It's happened over 1,200 times in 4 years, in one county, right? But they're woke, right? So critical race theory, I don't like it. We need to get it out of our schools for sure. It may be a fig leaf for something else. We don't know. It's important that you know about this mental health bill, and I'll tell you why. What I just told you about, as awful as it is, last Thursday, it was just tucked in to the School Nutrition Act from the feds, long-standing. So now it's very sacrosanct when we talk about school nutrition. So it's an army of government shrinks that they want to unleash on our children, period. It's happened in 3 counties. The 3 counties, ironically, Tim Moore, Berger, and Kidwell. Wait. Coincidental, I don't know. But I've talked to the staunchest conservative school board members in several areas that have this program operating. They didn't even know about it until I told them. Then they investigated, and lo and behold, it's there. Okay? And the last thing that happened, June 2020, the North Carolina legislature suspends the requirements that psychologists be licensed to work in the schools. June 2020, tucked into an omnibus bill. Psychologists who work for the schools no longer have to be licensed, and now there's an interstate compact. That means a guy in Utah that doesn't have isn't licensed anymore, can via Zoom, because it's happening via telemedicine in our schools, okay, treat children. Now, guess what the minimum age, if y'all know me, don't answer. What is the minimum age in North Carolina that a child can consent to get their own mental health care? 16.
18 probably.
18. 17. 0. 0. The statute provides for 0. Now, in California, we have 2 chapters. We're battling the age of 12 in California. Children, we know this, are being groomed for transgenderism. They're being, these clinics are now being run by Planned Parenthood in a lot of the school clinics. And they're being given hormone blockers, and they're killing themselves, and the parents don't know about it. Now, I'm not picking on any one group, but Tim Moore had the opportunity to introduce, well, a couple of things. The Girls in Sports Act, but also a bill that would prohibit giving hormones and sex changes to children below the age of 18, something that the gay community strongly supports. So when you talk about this, I want you to understand that you're on firm footing with that, okay?
Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Who suspended the need for the requirement for the license?
I'm sorry?
It says something suspends the requirement.
Oh, the legislature, the North Carolina legislature.
Sergeant was it?
That's right. And I want to be honest with you, I cannot, I cannot find a Democrat to hang this on.
And so you're telling us that the LGBT or homosexual communities aren't friends? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not. No. I'm not saying anyone is a friend. But I'm telling you that most gay people do not support gender change. Why? And let me tell you why. Because it seeks to erase gay people.
Change my mind.
I'm going to tell you what I know. It particularly gay men, because if you're saying that, look, if you're gay, if you're not okay, you gotta be a different gender. I'm just telling you what they think. I'm not coming down either way, but what I am telling you is
And
that,
I'm not either.
you know, yeah.
I'm not either. I mean, I'm just saying that.
It must be
It's
news.
not your friends or my friends or whatever. It's the group that's
Yeah.
pushing this.
Yeah.
So it's something personal.
No. Yeah.
Nothing personal, but I'm still
But
gonna
you
fight
know-
against it, you know.
Yeah, oh, and listen, I'm very outspoken, extremely. But I also wanna know what gay people think of this, and they're firmly in, I mean, I've only done a poll, 15. But I do know that a lot of gay people are speaking out about this, because it's not age appropriate. In other words, and I
That
think
is
that,
exactly what it is. They don't
Yeah.
think it's developmentally appropriate
Yeah.
for a child. And I'll give you an example. At 10 years old, I was finally called in the military town, just kind of read it on your shirt, but riding around like a boy. Imagine if I was in California and I said, I think I'm a boy. Well, right now, I would be very, very confused because I
Exactly.
would have been given hormones that are irreversible. And I'm very happy being and sleeping with my husband now. Thank you. So that's just an example. And yes, I was a former school administrator, and this is going on. Federal money speaks. We hired a lawyer in Pitt County because our 13-year-old came home and said that he had taken a panoramic survey. I was part of creating the panoramic survey. It is a template. It is district-wide. Principals do not know what's on it, so you can't go blame them. Teachers didn't know what was on it. And he got in the car and he said, Mom, and again, the surveys were fine because it was like, are you feeling okay? You know, don't feel stressed with COVID, blah, blah. But then it said, male, female, if you're not male or female, please tell us how you identify and give your
I'm gonna show
name
you.
and phone number and email address. That is from a third party, which is supposed to be, first of all, in the Board of Education, tell me if I'm wrong, of course, but you were supposed to ask for permission from a parent before you get a survey. That went against it. It goes against Title IX transgender rights, number 2. It goes against kids with an IEP who sometimes are developmentally delayed and might go, man, am I a boy or am I a girl? So you're opening up a big can of worms with this survey. We hired a lawyer, Sloan, at 5:22 p.m. I asked for a copy of the survey, and I was told they would get to it in time, but to take down the Facebook post of, did anybody else get this? Friends that my late husband and I used to work with. And if I was still a school administrator, I wouldn't be sitting at the table right now because that's what paid my paycheck. I will probably never be able to go back into school administration until I open my mouth. But for our grandchild and everybody else, this is absolutely wrong.
And I think this is an issue. So I want to get beyond the parent thing, because again, we need a movement that's outside of the school. We're talking about, converting votes. I mean, I'm not, because I'm not political, but if we're talking about convincing people, we've got the issues. I'm going to show you. So I intimated that I was going to explain how the process works. I'm going to do that right quick. So that information I showed you, that can be operationalized into this process. So Wendy, thank you for this. This is surveys, classroom exercises, the data collection is happening. Without the data collection, social emotional learning falls down. It goes away. That's why we have to have an opt-in, a mandatory opt-in for any surveys happening in any class. That kills the whole thing. So we've got a silver bullet. That's the thing, we've got good news. So I did.
Who can make an opt-in happen? Is that the state legislature?
I'm glad you asked. We have a couple of different levels. Yeah, we have a couple of different levels for that. In other words, I think we can do it in the district. We can do it from the county commission, right? We can do it. It'd be best. It'd be best to have. It would be best to have states. When I'm talking to you guys tonight, I need your help. I need your help for the state level stuff. I need your help. So let me tell you why. Identity breakdown. So you isolate these children, because some of these exercises I'm going to show you, some of them are in Pitt County, by the way. Some of these exercises are done out loud. asking girls, what do you think about your lips, your breasts, and your pubic hair? I don't like to talk like that. I'm telling you, this is what girls are being asked out loud in classes, in an SEL class, in a social emotional learning class. If you hand, by the way, when you guys go knocking on doors to get votes and stuff, you hand out these surveys to people, and then you're going to get people mad and say, you don't have to say a word. Okay? So isolating them. In other words, if I'm a teenager and I've answered these questions in front of all my peers, and they've got the goods on me, you understand how manipulative that can be, and how you can just come in and I'll just put it manipulative. So you're using critical race theory to manipulate. It's a tool in this cycle. Let's see. Ah! Wait, how do I go back? Can you go back? See, yeah. Wait, you're going the wrong way. Wrong way.
Okay.
Yep.
Try the other way.
Yep, yep.
One more.
Yep. Go again. Go again. Okay, really quickly. Psychiatric intervention, I just told you how that happened. So this critical race theory, all this stuff, again, it was devised in 2017. The pandemic had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Okay? All right. Historical, so identity reformation. In other words, we want to break you down and build you up again. That's why the critical race theory is very important. The narrative, that's a part of the critical race theory, right? Propaganda, social pressure, and if that doesn't work, psychiatric treatment. Okay? I don't know how I did this. Oh, okay. All right, so we're stripping parents of the rights to raise their children. Okay. This is what I think the greater public would want to know. Right? Sexualizing children. They define they who's they. North Carolina's statutes define sexual abuse of a child as supplying pornography. I mean, what we're talking about here, and you will see, it's now legal for grown people to ask children about when they began having sex under what's going on in the schools. Again, I'm giving you guys pull quotes that you can use when you are talking to the general public. When is the last time you went into a weird neighborhood and knocked on the door and showed them something to try to educate your public? It needs to happen. It needs to happen every day. In fact, instead of going to the school board meetings, some of you guys, during the school board meetings, maybe meet up and do that. Okay, so let me show you what we're talking about here. Whoop. Am I going the right way?
Okay, that's all right.
No, gotta go to the right.
Always go right.
Yeah, that's right.
No. Okay. Yep. This way. Okay. Okay. Stop. What is Castle SEL? So Castle is the name brand. It's like Kleenex, but this is used in most districts. It's used in North Carolina. North Carolina and 2 other districts across the country were the first to use Castle SEL. You guys have never heard of it? That's a problem because now it's in all 12 subjects. Wait until you see what it is.
What does it stand for?
Social emotional learning.
But there used to be a good social emotional learning because I was pre-K director, and so we were starting out, are you happy today? Talking about that. And so when it came out that, they're going to be doing this, everybody responded with, Wendy, why are you fighting this? You were the one that first started it. This is not what it is.
Character development.
That's right. It's not
Yeah.
just saying social emotional learning, so they're kind of pushing it in with thinking, oh my God, we're taking away something that's really,
That's
really
right.
good to deal with.
Well, okay, so here's
Is this put in a common core umbrella in English?
yeah, it's the same type of system. So it's top down. So I want you guys to understand that. And the reason I want you to understand that is because we have to fight this at the state level, period. So what you can say is, if your bag is, if you're comfortable talking about over-sexualizing of children, you can talk about that. If you're talking about making children so they cannot even read, and why is that happening, you can talk about it. There's something in this for everyone. But I want you to understand that we're talking about the Mal for Olds program, where children are extinguished in their old customs, old habits, old beliefs. This is it. So Castle defines SEL as a process. Let's replace this. Your government is going to design the type of child that they want. Your government is going to collect data on you and you and you and you, because they're going to ask you about your neighbors. They're going to ask all these questions, and children don't have a concept of boundaries. So let me rewrite this. Can we flip over one more?
Go back.
Nope. Yes, stop. Okay, so Castle defines SEL as a process. You're gonna understand and manage the emotions that the government wants you to manage, which are aligned with national priorities. Sound familiar? Feel and show empathy for certain others. Establish and maintain positive relationships and make responsible decisions according to government dictums. That is happening right now. So you can go to your school board meetings. You cannot change this at the school board level. Yes, ma'am.
Is this whole slideshow, is this available online to download?
It is. Good question. Okay, so can we flip to one more?
One
So I'm-
more back.
No. Yes. Okay, so here's where we get to critical race theory. Ding, ding, ding. This is social emotional. By the way, this is from the DPI's website. When you ask Catherine Truitt, who is your superintendent of schools, why Castle SEL is on the website, her response back is, why are you looking at the website? Now, she has told people,
She has something to hide.
this is our government property. I mean, this is ridiculous. I'll tell you this. Catherine Truitt has referred parent after parent after parent after parent. Go raise hell at the school board level. Go do it. Go to it. They control everything. But she also just issued a letter on September 28th accusing us of being violent a day before the National School Board Association did, using almost the same language. So if you think this wasn't coordinated, you'd be wrong, right? Here it is. This is off their own website. This is with an equity lens, discussing and facilitating conversations about race, diversity, sexual orientation. Why the heck are you talking about that in schools? And the inequitable society we live in are difficult for many teachers. SEL level of teachers is key. This is what teachers are going to be evaluated on, required to do, hired to do.
So the end game is that they're brainwashed.
Quite literally. The horrific red alert is now with abusive psychiatry. Okay? Alright, so we'll skip
One
this
back.
way. Okay. Let me show you some specific examples. This is from Moore County kindergarten class. Kindergarten class. This is a gender person. Okay? This is, yeah, privacy square and all. Sexually attracted to women with a feminine, female perspective, men with a masculine, romantically attracted to, blah, blah, blah. This is a social emotional learning lesson.
So our 5-year-olds are now going to be thinking about sex instead of playing.
I mean, some, yes. But you have to understand, where's my phone? I just got a new phone. Anybody get a new? All right, I'm holding up a phone. Got a new phone. All right. When I bought this phone, okay, it had no apps on it. It's just a thing. Social emotional learning in every single class has no apps on it. The teacher can do whatever the hell they want to do, including a survey in every single class. You can have great apps on here, Wendy. This stuff I would love. Prayer.com, all this stuff. Great. Or you can have really, really bad stuff. And it's all legal. And oh, I forgot to tell you about the mental health bill that was ushered in 2020. Qualified immunity for everyone doing it.
Does that include private
Immunity,
Private
meaning they
schools
can't
as
be
well?
sued.
That's right.
Any parent, or
Correct.
any group.
No, they will be sued though.
Yes. We just have to put it together.
But, yeah. This is charter and public. Your money. What you, yes.
Charter's one of the worst now.
So, yes, and so what you are looking at is a massive human rights abuse system at the hands of your own government. Now, this is something to talk to your neighbor about, because this is something the Americans do not tolerate.
What can be
Oh,
done?
let me get to that.
Yeah, that's it.
So let's talk about it. I want you guys to leverage minorities. I'm telling you right now, if you tell the Hispanic community this, the first people I went to, and I'm Jewish, my husband's Israeli, I went to Muslims first. That was very hard to do. But when you tell a Muslim community they're going to let boys in the girls' bathrooms and let them go, Believe me, right? They want to know. We have to get out of our comfort zone. This is something that everybody living in this geography has got to know about. Okay. I'm sorry, can you slide the next slide?
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So
Forward,
someone
please.
also, the response from the school system to our attorney was, we're sorry the way the survey was given out through Dr. Linker. It should be done differently, second of all. Thirdly, it should be, the response from Karen Harrington, who's in charge of social services, responded with, there are children who aren't being acknowledged at home for being confused about being transgender. So it's up to the school system to make sure their mental health is taken care of, which
It's up to the government. In other words, your own government is going to decide what gender your child is. This is not hyperbole. Okay, let me continue. I really want to get through all this. Just hold on 1 second. So, if you have a question, just please jot it down. Questions that this is a middle school in Orange County. This is a public discussion, social emotional learning class. Questions I have about my face, hair, chest, and body.
This is Orange County, California?
No, all this is in North Carolina.
North
Okay,
Carolina.
all right. Questions I have about growing up are, check all that are applied. Why am I changing? Does everyone change the same way? When is it okay to kiss someone? Okay. This is in math class, actually, I think. I'm not kidding. No, I'm not kidding you. I'm not. Okay. Okay. All right. This was the same exercise. Now, here's where we get to the surveillance state. This is the surveillance state. About my best friend. My best friend's name is, my best friend thinks I am, and something my friend does that worries me. This is the police state. I'm telling you. Here's another alarming one. My mother's name is, and today I would describe my relationship with my mother as completely inappropriate.
Is this current? Is this happening current?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Oh yeah, this is happening right now. Let me show you, okay, so let me show you the surveys right quick. Have you ever bought drugs at school? Do your friends smoke marijuana, etc.? This is identified with a student ID number. So this is getting a child to confess to a crime without the presence of a lawyer there. Okay?
to open up possibly a DSS report.
That as well. Yes. Okay. Okay, so no Miranda has been given, none of that, okay? This can be used as not only probable cause, right? How many times have you filled in the wrong bubble? I'm sorry, I know I have. Can you imagine? Okay. You use painkillers, use all, so this is, I want you to know that every PSU, that means every school, they're gonna be required to choose their own, get this, survey and clinical intervention. You're not qualified to do this. This is woefully unfair to teachers as well.
And it's a template, so that question, a lot of the school board members.
Wendy, they're choosing this off the internet without the school board members knowing.
That's right. So
Yeah.
What
you
age
don't
is
have to
this?
blame teachers, really, they're putting their kids in front of the computer, and then it was a seventh grader
Middle
that said
school.
to the teacher, what does it mean, how do I identify? That's how, and the whole classroom laughed in the teacher's face, my son said, was like, what does that say?
Yeah.
And then I asked the principal, he said, Wendy, it's a district-wide survey, you know darn well I didn't know what was on it.
And this is gonna be school-wide. So the law changed 2 weeks ago, or the policy changed from the State Board of Ed. This will be done in every school, and every school will choose their own survey. They're not qualified to do it, right? And interventions. So they're given a list of clinical interventions. Clinical interventions, okay?
You say the school decides. Who in the school? One person?
I'm glad you asked. According to, first of all, the problem is, we don't actually know. So based on the particular policy, it is a team of,
It's a committee.
wait for it, it's a committee of, let me tell you who it is. A teacher, a principal, students, social services. Why is a student having access potentially to this data? This is insanity, literally. All right, so here we go. This is grade 6 through 13 in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. How do you describe your gender identity? Male, female, non-binary, gender fluid, not sure. Of course, the not sures, and all of these three, these children are immediately set aside, and their parents know nothing after that. Nothing.
They're put in a subgroup, and then they are given extra money based on the data.
Yeah.
Wow, you have this many that are identifying now, and
Yes.
so here, we're gonna reward you with another big.
Well, hold on, just hold on, let me get through all this, okay? Do you identify as transgender? Yes, no, not sure. None of your doggone business, right? Again, this is grooming, guys. Which of the following describes you? So in other words, they're tricking the hell out of these kids. They are, you see this, Charlotte-Mecklenburg School. You see the ear, right? Wait.
Could you possibly go after the school district for violation of privacy?
No, you can't, and I told you why, because the
Nothing
state
has happened to the child
can't do it.
yet.
You can't,
Not yet.
That, I don't want to talk to you about that, but I want to show you a little bit of evidence here. So pansexual, asexual, so in other words, they are baiting them into this, okay? Go ahead. All right, privilege exercises. 7th grade, Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools, we're seeing it all over. This is just right quick, this is asking children to implicate themselves as an oppressor or oppressed, okay? Okay, this is a social emotional learning lesson, but
They have to be one of those, they can't be neutral on that, they have to pick one of the two.
I mean, I don't know.
That's CRT. You're either an oppressor or
Right, you're very right, you're very correct.
That's the big fat lie they're trying to tell everybody.
Right.
That's how
Now-
they oppress children.
This is Johnson County. This is Johnson County Middle School. And what this is doing is asking a child's opinion on what they think of the LGBTQ movement. How many people do you know are gay? All this stuff. So in other words, if they have the wrong answer, I mean, I can handle being canceled. I'm older. Not a lot older, but you try being 14 and getting canceled. This is what you want to talk about suicide prevention. No. This is the opposite of that. All right.
When this first started in Wayne County, it was actually in public in class.
These are all, most of these are done in public.
And the
Yeah.
teacher made the students
Move to different
move
areas
to
based
different.
on
Yeah.
their responses.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, we're
So
doing saying that.
everybody in the class knew.
That's the isolation part of it, right? And so on and on and on. You can fast forward a little bit. Okay, so this is what you had, Wendy. This is from Pitt County. This is a psychological survey.
I have 3 videos.
Okay.
I'm planning on getting one out Thursday. I'll probably do the golden rule.
Y'all have a question, please write it down. Okay, so you're able to, this is called social credit score. This is coming from the state. The state, this information is being given to the feds. Okay? School board members are being lied to about this. Okay, go ahead. Okay, this is a survey that and I'm gonna say to the extreme credit of a superintendent in North Carolina, we've got a lot of inside sources, did not feel right about this survey that the state wanted to put through and gave barely a notice. This is 11-year-olds. Have you ever had sexual intercourse? How old were you when you had intercourse for the first time? 8 years, 9 years, 10 years? How many people have you slept with? 1, 2, 3, 4. The last time you had sexual intercourse, what happened? And this is the beauty. How long would it take you to get to ready to fire a loaded gun without a parent or an adult's permission? This is a trick question. Okay? The state, now they will tell you that the CDC partnered on this. That is true. But so what? The CDC, yeah, I trust them. This is a North Carolina special, right there. And they want to know. All right, go ahead. Do your parents have a job? Okay, here's one on your survey in Pitt. During the day, are you taking care of anyone in your family, like siblings, parents, grandparents? No. Yes for part of the day, yes for most of the day. On average, how long are you at home alone without a parent? All right, so now we can just shut it off and now we can have our discussion. Okay? This is what is going on. Okay, so wait a minute, I want to take this in order. Yes, sir.
Slow me when you cut it off.
Is the premise, is the result of what you're showing us, the reason why we're seeing so many billboards up now about suicide prevention? Because they also just changed our phone service in North Carolina, at least in my area. So you now have to dial the whole area code to support the suicide prevention hotline number.
Well, I'm going to answer that, and I'm going to tell you this. What I just showed you, this is all put under school safety. And so you've got your climate assessments and suicide risk. What they did in 2020 was they enmeshed that in. So now school boards, I mean, if you don't want to do social emotional learning, it's going to be an uphill climb, and you're going to have to forego 20% or more of your funding. Okay? Right. So again, I want to tell you, how do we fight it? We need to have a mandatory opt-in for any survey that happens in class, at the school, whatever. It needs to be on file in every single class. That would give us recourse. FERPA and PERFA will not give us recourse. You may not have a private right of action under those laws. Can't do it. That is a general federal guideline for privacy and permission. You cannot sue under that. Yes, sir.
If I was going to email, let's say, her teachers and the principal or any of the people involved, and basically ask them, hey, you know, are there any surveys given, and I need to opt out of the survey. So how do I begin the conversation?
Train your child. Train your child.
Which I was just doing.
I think the most important thing is to, you know, there's a lot of conversations that we don't want to have with our children that we have to have. You have to train your child. That is a violation, and I'm talking to you, ma'am. You, pretty girl. Right? That's what we have to do. We have to train our children. But the rest of us also, it is a duty, a requirement that you tell 10 people that you've never talked to before. This cannot be a conservative conversation. Because why? Because you are robbing your community of this vital information. You can't do that.
Will Facebook take it down and post it?
Okay.
It's going to have to be for it's analytics.
Well, I've never had a problem. I have not had a problem yet. Yes, ma'am.
I got a hold of one of the surveys. I've done several parents. They don't have a issue. I talked to several students that said they've never even seen one. So is it in all Pitt County?
No, the same one is not in every single school. It wasn't, so my 13-year-old that you got did not receive the same one at Hope Middle.
Because these woke
But wait,
parents don't
And it was only given up to a certain, so it wasn't the elementary school kids. So,
Well,
like the parents I talked to, they were like, I was okay with it. And those little kids don't remember what was on it.
but Wendy, see, I don't want to get wrapped around the axle about a survey, right? Because a mandatory opt-in will take care of it. What I want you to know that in every single class, whatever it is, math, basket weaving, homeroom, they will be giving you questionnaires of a different sort. And I showed you those inappropriate questions, right? So that, your child may not come home and say anything because it was a part of the class. Now, I'll tell you what, we're talking about lawsuits, right? I'll tell you what putting this in all 12 classes will do. Do you know why they did that?
You can't get away from it.
Can't get away from it is a good one, but you can't sue. You know why you can't sue? It's part of the state curriculum.
That's what I challenge.
That's fine.
So it's slow enough, I'm trying to be stupid. They're putting this under the guise of CRT, all this information.
No, they would never do that. They're putting it under school safety.
Who's safe behind that?
We're gonna.
Are there teachers that are saying, I
I'm not gonna give this away.
There are a ton of teachers who have spoken out on this, and I want you to know that. About a third of our members here in North Carolina are teachers. And we've had teachers go on Fox News, on all kinds of shows, and they are standing up against this. Look,
Good.
this is grooming children. You saw it with your own eyes. So this is grooming children into transgenderism. Why? Let me tell you why.
Yes.
Patriarchy. In other words, if you're trying to dissemble the patriarchy, two things. First of all, we know in communism, you have to get rid of that belief in God, period.
Yes.
If you're teaching that God doesn't get to choose your gender, God doesn't make mistakes, right? So right there, boom. You're severing that relationship with God. Number two, the patriarchy. In other words, if you're training, I mean, our American values are nuclear family, right? I mean, mom and dad, etc. There's nothing better than to destroy that than teaching the transgender movement. And it is the thing that severs a relationship between parent and child. You have no idea how many far left parents come to us and say, I have lost my child in 6th grade. I'm telling you, I am here and everything I'm talking to you about is in North Carolina. It is a destroyer of families, what you have seen. And again, we cannot keep talking to each other. This is a human rights issue. Yes, sir.
If you think this is bad, wait till you get into the sex education aspect. We had a sex education forum with the God and Country Christian Alliance back in I think June down in New Bern. The two people that spoke at that organization, at that group, were then I got them to come up to Goldsboro about a month ago and had the same talk with the people there that were in attendance. And when you're listening to this, you would be horrified to think that your children are being taught things that you as an adult would be embarrassed to talk about. I mean, it's pathetic.
These questions.
When it got done down in New Bern, I said to the people in the room, I said, is there anybody here that thinks they need to take a shower? This was filthy, absolutely filthy. So that's what we need to do here. I've talked to Elizabeth about it. When you hear about it, you better come, because you're going to be shocked to death to find out what your children are learning and you don't know anything about it.
Comprehensive sex ed is what he's talking about. So for those of you that have to leave early, I'm going to have to mandate that you immediately get onto our website, sign up for the newsletter immediately, and tell 10 people. You have to do that. edfirstnc.org. We have flyers right here. Please, please, please take it. You have to do that. Because listen, we're doing all the legwork for you. We put primary documents up of all this stuff, right? That's the warehouse. You have to do that. You have to tell people, and we write. We're bringing on a writer that was with Ted Cruz and another one that was with OMB under Trump. So, writers, second to none. You have to get this stuff out. So, comprehensive sexual education is coming. I'm telling you, they're grooming this. I want to leave you with this, and I'm going to take more questions, but the most far gone progressive state school system in the country is North Carolina. Worse, let me tell you why. In California, they start the ethnic studies in high school. Here they start it in kindergarten. Okay? Big difference. California, the age of consent before medical treatment, 12. Here, 0. This is the worst, the most far gone school system, period. Now, you may not be seeing it here yet, okay? But I'm telling you, at the state level, at the top, the worst. So, is it coming? I believe that it is. Can they mandate all the things I told you about? According to my reading of the general statutes and of policy and of historical case law, yes. So at the state level, we are worse than California. We are worse than New York.
How did we get here? How did we get number one?
Okay, so how did we get here?
Yes.
June 2020. I mean, things were incubated. I mean, so if we go back to 2017, there is something called Public School Forum. It is a think tank from hell. All the money goes into there and through there. John Belk is a big donor, and John Belk supports Catherine Truitt and others. So 2017, the data was cast. How do we get here?
If you don't know who John Belk is, it's Belk Department Store. Now, he's dead, but his daughter is running an endowment, and she put $3,500 into Catherine Truitt's campaign.
So how did we get here? Go look in the mirror. Because I don't know about you, but I always believed that, you know, there's local control. And I've always heard there's local control. And I've always believed that Dan Forrest said, I got it. Now, Catherine Truitt, a man in her office who worked for Dan Forrest, his wife is a lobbyist for critical race theory products, Jamie Falkenberry, okay? In addition to that, his wife is a lobbyist for these in-school psychiatric clinics. And so if you think that there is not corruption and dirty dealing on our side, you're wrong. Sorry. Okay? Now, she is not, by the way, there's something called an SEI form that if you are serving in government, you have to file with the Secretary of State that says, okay, I have an interest in this company, this is this. He filled out 3 SEIs within a 2-month period and lied on every single one of them. This is recently. She would not get rid of them. I mean, there needs to be public trust in our institution. It has to be, if you cannot trust the top, I mean, my goodness, what are we doing here? So we have a problem here. We have a problem.
The North Carolina Constitution, when it talks about education, says that morality and religion, right?
Yeah.
Are to be stressed or whatever, the importance of education. I don't see any of that in any education.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Constitution is some basic education, which you're going to hear from every liberal. You're going to hear about religion, of course, the Establishment Clause will nail you on that. And it's funny that you can't talk about God, but you could talk about
Well, they're doing the Indiana now with the low graders.
Okay, but you know, you're not, okay, but so we're going to, we're looking at suing, we're pretty close to making a decision because, you know, what you didn't know and what others didn't know that were parents when you were trying to get your kids out of the survey is that they were being tested for psychological treatment. And in fact, you were. What's interesting is that when you start allowing every school unit to choose their own mental health treatment and screening, those, and then you have a primary investigator, those are called psychological experiments. You cannot do that legally unless it's part of the curriculum. So now, because it's in all 12 subjects, you can conduct psychological testing. And we know this because you've got controls, you've got different sites, right? If everybody's doing a different program, you can test them to see which one works the best. So you get out of something called an IRB, testing on human subjects, you don't have to do that anymore.
Well, it seems like they've thrown things, thrown things away. It's a lot like this vaccine, you know, they kind of bypassed the animal. They've bypassed, you know, the vetting.
Well,
part of this.
clinicians, I mean.
Here's something I'm wondering about, because our son has dyslexia. We fought with him through school. We had teachers give up on him and everything else. But what I read recently is a teacher can say, "Oh, yeah, you're this," and deemed it, put it in the system.
Permanent record.
This child is, HD, whatever, and recommended medication.
Yes.
Then what I've read is that the parents have to comply or this child cannot get back into the classroom.
Right.
Correct.
So, look, I mean, with this whole mask thing, like it or not, agree or not, I guess you're still free to disagree with me.
Yeah.
For now, till we know each other better. But since schools can require kids to wear a mask, that makes them the arbiter medical decisions for the child, right? So you're right. I mean, let's say kids need antipsychotic. By the way, I hate to scare you even more, but this program that every school is asked to follow is based on critical race theory. In other words, the purpose of the mental health program is to equalize what they call white power. Medication, treatment.
Sloan, I'm gonna have to leave, but I would like to leave.
We all have to leave it by 8 o'clock.
One comment, that was, one question I might be able to kind of lend a little knowledge to. By the way, those of you who don't know, I'm Benji Forrest, and I do serve on the Pitt County Board of Education. I would like to say Word Coolidge would like to be here tonight, but he's also in the ministry, and they have things to do tonight, so he could not be here. North Carolina is unique from this standpoint. And the reason why I know this is because I served as Eastern Region Agricultural Education Coordinator and worked all across the country with public and private education. Back during the Depression, the local school systems were going belly up. They made a gentleman's agreement with the North Carolina General Assembly that the General Assembly would take care of everything as far as personnel and paying salaries, developing curriculum, and all of those kinds of things. And y'all just sit back, we'll pay you teachers, we'll develop your curriculum, we'll do all those things. And all y'all got to do is just provide the brick and mortar business. So from about the 1929, 30, 32 up until today, that has traditionally what's driven education in North Carolina. See, I love being on the Pitt County Board of Education to do the little bits of changing and tweaking we can do. But it's like having a great big old banana pudding, and we can affect the crust on the outside of the dish. If you really want to make a difference, first of all, don't give up on being active in your local community and school board. But y'all have made a difference, I can tell you that. I can already tell you there's only 2 of us on that board that really drive the conservative message. But we are reaching down into that bureaucracy, if you will. I'm making these general comments. I know it. I know that. And it's because of you guys. The second thing I would do, though, is make sure that your legislators in Raleigh understand and know that you understand and know that the major efforts of education in this state, they hold the strings to.
I spoke with Don Davis. Don Davis, in preparation for the meeting, wonderful guy, and I have to tell you, he listened to the privacy angle. He's concerned about that. He did not know, when we talked to him, he did not know from the state down that they were mandating this. He was surprised. He doesn't like that angle. But I have to tell you, I extended, an invitation to speak with a lot of different reps. He's one of the only ones who actually wanted to hear from us. So I will say that. He does not like these surveys. He thinks that the fact that the state is asking them to be done is an overreach. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I have to be careful about the lawsuit, so I really can't discuss. That's the reason why I'm saying these things in general, but I think we kind of get the idea.
And it wasn't a lawsuit, it was a complaint. I do I'm not about suing anybody at all. It was a complaint, and we want an answer, and we want a copy of the survey. And unfortunately, you have to hire a lawyer to get that.
Yeah.
That's sad.
So, Sloan, thank you for everything that you, I think that you clarified a lot of things, but I just wanted to make sure that they understand. Because, as you said, the state of North Carolina provides approximately 60% of all the monies in the schools. The locals provide about 20% of it, and the feds provide the least amount of that resource, but they drive it because they have about 90% of the regulations. So,
But Pitt County receives, because we're so disappointed, they.
we receive extra dollars. We receive extra dollars because that's right. Thank you so much, and thank y'all for what you do, and keep on doing it. And I'm behind you, and I support you, and you keep on being a voice out there. You are making a difference.
I'll ask Sloan some questions, but please pay your bills, so if they kick us out, we're all good.
We have time for 2 more questions from someone I haven't heard from.
Yes, you had mentioned Wayne County, and I didn't quite understand.
Wayne.
You said something about Wayne County